The Pittsburgh Steelers are the sleeper contender of 2024. What's going on, football fans, Steeler Nation? It's Mitch here. And I have to admit, I have not been a fan of recent Pittsburgh Steeler football. And I'm finding every reason to not believe in the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers. But honestly, I'm kind of falling in love with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I kind of think that this team, the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers, this roster is the sleeper contender of the NFL in 2024. The team that no one is paying attention to. The team that everyone is sleeping on. The team that must be taken seriously as a contender in 2024. That's right, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? Well, allow me to explain why. But first, spike the like button and subscribe for more NFL coverage just like this. I cover all 32 NFL teams. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Steelers this season. How good will they be, and what is their potential? Now, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, why do I believe they're the sleeper contender compared to 2023 or 2022 or 2021? Teams that all potentially exceeded expectations, teams that were good but not great, teams that maybe even made the playoffs but stood no chance once they got there. What makes the difference for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024? Well, when you really think about it, last season, this was a team that finished 6th in points against and 28th in points for. So how does this team get drastically better and actually have more upside in 2024? The answer is simple. Offense, right? So, what did they do to improve that? You go from an absolute laughingstock, borderline clown of an offensive coordinator to a professional, well-known and productive offensive mind, Arthur Smith, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And you give him a young, hungry, angry, and athletic offensive line, his expertise, one of the best dual threat duos in football at the running back position, a true alpha big targeted receiver, a solid tight end, and a veteran quarterback who is highly effective when he has a good running game, good play action game, and a strong defense. This sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this, to me, is the cleanest and clearest formula that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in seasons. I actually can sit down and think about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to do on Sundays, and I can actually give a legitimate case to why they will improve, why they will be better. These past few years, the only thing that I've been able to go off of in terms of projecting 9 wins for this football team, because every year, Mike Tomlin doesn't have a losing record. We all know the stat. We've all heard it before, right? It's a broken record. But the difference between the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 2023, 2022, 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers is that this team actually has an identity. This team actually has a formula that could actually lead to success with the players in place to actually achieve that formula. It's simple, but it's truly effective. I mean, look at a team like the Detroit Lions. They have literally changed their entire franchise by committing themselves to the bite the kneecap style of football. They have built their team in a certain way. They have built their team through their offensive line. They have built their team around a quarterback that is effective in play action pass. They've built their team through the running game. They've built their defense through stopping the run. And they've built their team through toughness, grit, and through really good play calling on offense. And that has become their identity, right? They're aggressive, they're fun, but they're tough at the end of the day. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a coach in Mike Tomlin who has proven he can put out there a great defense, an elite defense, a top-notch defense, a defense that nobody wants to mess with. More on that in a second. So every year you're going to get that. But the offensive lack of rhythm, lack of reason, lack of rhyme, all these things has led to this team being inconsistent, incoherent, and just not, for me, I have not been able to predict how good this team is going to be. And they've always fallen short of the expectation of Steelers fans because really the offensive coordinator was a disaster. They had no rhyme or reason on offense. They really had no true identity. They didn't have a quarterback that could really perform at the level that they needed it. And they didn't have an offensive line that could stabilize the offense and give them a strong rushing attack and allow them to be balanced and then allow them to then complement their great defense by possessing the football, keeping opposing offenses on the sidelines. And so this is a full circle Steeler team. And this is why I believe the Steelers are the best roster and best Steeler team that they've had since 2020. This is what I truly do believe. And it all starts from the line of scrimmage. The Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. That's facts. That's pretty much been the case since TJ Watt has been there. And for really a majority of my life, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had one of the best pass rushes in football. But this is the strength of the team that they will rely on to make big plays in big moments, and that is what they do. TJ Watt, arguably the best defensive player in the sport. He did actually play the full season last year, which is excellent, but he led the NFL in sacks 3 times, right, throughout the course of his career. Last year, he led the NFL in sacks once again. He had 19. This is a man that makes big play after big play after big play, whether it be an interception, a forced fumble, a big sack, a tipped ball. It doesn't really matter. He does it all, right? Just like his brother JJ did before TJ. TJ's doing it now, right? Dominating the NFL. Alex Highsmith, arguably the best number 2 edge rusher in the sport. Last year, his sack numbers did not show that, but he was still excellent. Last year was perhaps his best overall season. He rated as the 10th best edge rusher in football according to PFF. And when you look at other metrics such as pressures, he did rank in the top 15 at 13th. He graded as the 12th best pass rusher, the 16th best run defender, and actually he was second in coverage among all edge rushers. So you got 2 guys that are mixing power. Watt's more of kind of an athlete, quickness, finesse. Highsmith's got more power to his game, more strength to his game, more set the edge to his game, but Watt is more of a dynamic kind of all-around athlete. And both of them, could do a variety of different things from run defense to pass rush to drop in coverage. Then even Nick Herbig off the edge is a nice little number 3 complement that they can throw in there every once in a while or step up if one of these guys goes down for a game or 2. The defensive line, I think, is the deepest they've had in a while. Cam Hayward is getting older, but the interior has Cam Hayward and then Keanu Benton, who enters year 2, who graded as the 20th best interior defensive lineman last year and was a very surprising, I believe, 2nd round pick. He was very good in year number 1, and he's expected to play more this year. I kind of feel like Cam Hayward was slowed down not because he's old, but because of the injury, right? He tore his groin completely off the bone, I believe, in week 1 against the 49ers, and he just wasn't the same player last year, but despite that, he's still graded as the 25th best interior defensive lineman. I'd expect him to return to pretty darn good form. Maybe not elite defensive lineman, but overall very good player. Good in the run game, good in the pass game, absolute engine of the interior defensive line. This guy just plays on every snap. One of the toughest football players in the league still. You got Larry Ogunjobi, who is another guy that plays a ton of snaps. He played 816 snaps last year, probably in part because Cam Hayward missed so much time. But he's an excellent number 2 or number 3 defensive lineman in that rotation. Dean Lowry was added from free agency. He played in Green Bay and started there for many years. He played under Brian Flores, a former Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker coach, and of course Patriot guy that I know well, that he started in Minnesota last year a little bit. He played some time there. Montravius Adams is a name also known from Green Bay. And then DeMarvin Leal is also one of their backups. So they've got about like 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that have played some snaps in the NFL, right? And have played in a lot of starting roles. Like, I would say they at least have 4 guys that have been in starting snap type of rotations in their career. So that's a very deep defensive line core. I don't think they've really had that for 2 or 3 years. So you look at that overall pass rush, it should be one of the best in football, especially if guys like Benton take a step forward, Herbig maybe takes a step forward. Then, of course, Cam Hayward might return to form, which would make it even that much more dangerous than last year with one of the best edge duos in football. So they set the tone for the entire team. But behind them, the linebacker position of the Pittsburgh Steelers is better than it's been in years. I'm talking it is the best it's been since, I don't know, James Ferrier. Like, I don't even know how long it's been. But you've got Patrick Queen, who, I don't know if you guys knew this, played the most snaps in the NFL at the linebacker position last year. So he's a really good player, and he's on the field a lot. He's really athletic, right? Steelers fans and the franchise has been chasing the shadow of Ryan Shazier for seasons. This is the closest you're going to get in terms of athleticism, speed, range, blitzing ability, coverage ability, all mixed into one. Patrick Queen is an excellent player. He recently broke out in Mike McDonald's defense last year and played 1,246 snaps for the best defense in the NFL. And you stole him from a rival, which is that much better in the prime of his career. He's going to add not just a great player, but also that athlete that they've been desperately missing and a leader in the middle of their defense that they've also kind of been missing. At the same time, you have a totally different type of player in Landon Roberts, who had one of his best seasons of his professional career last year. Landon Roberts was long time with my Patriots. He is an absolute sledgehammer, big hitter, old school thumper linebacker that I think complements Patrick Queen very well because they play off of each other, I think, in terms of strengths and weaknesses. Queen being athletic, Roberts being more of a big, run game kind of sledgehammer downhill. He can blitz because he's got that size and power to just smash into centers and guards and take on those guys in the inside. He had 101 tackles, 2.5 sacks last year for the Steelers. Played a lot of snaps. Cole Holcomb went down after 8 games started last year, so he's more of like, okay, maybe he starts alongside Queen, but he could also be the number 3. I think him and Roberts also have differences in abilities. I think Holcomb is more known for his coverage, I would say, and Roberts is more known for his run defense and blitzing capability, so they could kind of find different rotation there. And Peyton Wilson is a guy that I'm extremely excited for to just see in the NFL, because I thought he was the best linebacker in the entire NFL draft. And because of his age and his injury history and things, he fell all the way to like the 3rd round. But he's an athletic freak who has incredible range, 6'4", long arms. He's really, really instinctive around the line of scrimmage, finding the ball carrier, right? Like, this guy could be special. If he ends up being as good as I think he could be alongside Patrick Queen, they might have one of the best tandems at linebacker in the NFL. And they actually have one of the best depth charts at linebacker in the NFL right now. And I don't remember the last time I said that about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers have always been a franchise about their front 7. I mean, all the way from the Steel Curtain days of Jack Ham and Lambert, right, to me and Joe Green, and then all the way through their history, you've seen them have great linebacker play, great edge rush play, great interior defensive line play. They've never really been about their secondary outside of maybe, like the Mel Blunts and the Troy Polamalu's and the Rod Woodsons, but it's not been the primary identity of the team. Now you look at the secondary, and they still have those marquee names. Like, I feel like Minkah Fitzpatrick is one of the best safeties in football. It just comes down to health, right? And he actually has a partner in crime now this year, in my opinion, like just a solid guy that can complement him in the back end of the secondary. Deshaun Elliott was added from the Miami Dolphins, who graded 9th in run defense at the safety position. He is a little bit of a hybrid safety. I think he can play man coverage. I think he can play zone coverage. He's shown that he could play in the box or deep in free safety positions. So it depends where you want to put Minkah. Like, because Minkah can play everywhere, right? Minkah could play in the nickel. Minkah could play in the deep free safety. Minkah could play in the box and strong safety. But primarily, the Steelers have used him, if I'm not mistaken, as a deep free safety for a majority of the snaps. And what it makes him so incredible there is his instincts and his ability to read the game. And he is actually extremely active as a free safety in the run game. And he's very good in the post safety role in the middle of the field at reading a defense, or reading the offense, I should say, the quarterback, and getting to that football, whether it be a knockout or a big interception that turns the tide of the game. And Elliott, with his 9th run defense grade, could be more active in the box and help them out in the run game. So that's a really good compliment in my opinion. And then you can take KZ off the bench and have a 3 safety look where maybe you move Fitzpatrick into the box or a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. You have KZ working as the deep free safety, and what I would kind of call as the Duron Harmon role. If you know, you know, but if you don't, that's okay. Duron Harmon used to be the 3rd safety alongside Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung, as just, he would always come on the field as the deep free safety, and they knew that every single time, right? KZ could be that guy. He played 647 snaps at free safety last year, and he pretty much played only free safety. So you've got KZ, you've got Minka, you've got Elliott, a nice little trio there, and Miles Killebrew is a nice special teamer / 4th safety that they can throw into the mix. So like I'm saying here, I really love the defense. The primary area of weakness for the defense here is in my opinion, the nickel position. I don't think is very good, or at least solidified, right? They did just recently have a suspension to Cam Sutton, who they expected to maybe be that nickel defender. He played in Detroit last year as their #1 outside perimeter corner, and he was like horrendous, like atrocious, like one of the worst corners in the NFL. You move him inside, and maybe he's interesting in the back half of the season. But they did add Dante Jackson out of Carolina, who in my opinion has always had the speed, has always had the talent. I think he's a former 2nd-round pick, but has never been coached up and put in the right positions. He's never lived up to expectations. So he's a little bit iffy on the perimeter corner spot. I still think they could use another corner. Maybe like a Stephon Gilmore would be excellent. But hey, it's possible. But at the end of the day, they might have a #1 corner, which is really something that the Steelers have struggled to find over the years as well, right? Joey Porter Jr. came onto the scene last year as a rookie. Was it a 2nd or a 1st-round pick? Maybe a late 1st-round pick. Can't quite remember, guys. But Joey Porter Jr., he had an excellent rookie season, right? He was 46% in reception percentage. Anything under 50 is really, really awesome. 68 passer rating is excellent, right? 19% forced incompletion percentage, which was top 10 in the NFL. So all those stats showed off his skill set, which is it's aggressive, it's physical, he's really handsy, he's able to get to the ball and not deflect the ball away, be able to be in the hip pocket of receivers. And he showed, I think in college, like a physical press man coverage style that I think translated to the NFL fairly well. And I think he's got, just because of his size and overall length, he's also pretty effective in cover 2 and things like that, playing the sidelines. So yeah, I think they have a legitimate cornerback #1. It's about maybe the nickelback, the CB2. But regardless, their safeties, I think, are improved. Their linebackers are drastically improved. I think their defensive line is deep, effective. They've got elite players at every spot on their defense. I think they're going to be a top 10, possibly top 5, top 3 type of defense this year, where I felt like the last few years, they've been really good at turning the ball over, really good at sacking the quarterback, really good at pressuring the quarterback, right? Like last year, they were 6th in points against, but they were also 21st in yards allowed, right? So they were a good defense, but in my opinion, a great defense not only doesn't allow points, but doesn't allow yards in general. So this year, they could be both of those things, right? Potentially not allowing points and stifling opponents. Meanwhile, the offense has also drastically improved, as I've already pointed out. But where have they gotten better outside of Arthur Smith? If you don't know Arthur Smith's mentality, it's run the football, run the football, run the football. It's play action, right? You think to Arthur Smith and what he's been able to do over the years of his career, right? This is a guy that has always had a strong running game. Even if he was a little bit suspect in Atlanta with his usage of guys like Kyle Pitts, he's never been suspect with the usage of running backs. Arthur Smith had Derrick Henry at his absolute peak in Tennessee, running through defenses in the playoffs, the best of the best in the AFC, and putting the Titans on the map as a contender because of what he was able to do at elevating Ryan Tannehill within an offense that was run-heavy and play-action featured. And he turned Ryan Tannehill to an underwhelming, below-average, kind of bust of a quarterback in Miami to an above-average, borderline top 10 quarterback for a couple of years in Tennessee, right? He was excellent with the usage of Algier, Cordell Patterson, and, Bijan Robinson in recent seasons in Atlanta, involving his running backs in unique ways and yards after catch players in unique ways. One guy that stands out to me is Jonnu Smith, who played for Tennessee and Atlanta and was really good in that regard, as well as Cordell Patterson, who he kind of fell in love with early in the Atlanta days. But you look at what Najee and Warren were able to do last year, and you could see how effective they might be able to be in Arthur Smith's offense, right? 1,800 yards rushing last season for the combined duo of these two. I don't think a lot of people realize how effective these two were last year. They could be even better this year. 1,800 yards combined is an excellent season. 100 catches, over 100 catches for the duo here. 12 touchdowns and 2,300 total yards. If you put those two together, that is a historic season, right? 2,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, over 100 catches. That's LaDainian Tomlinson type stuff, right? That's Marshall Faulk, right? So, that's really awesome. And you could put them now in an offense where I think Arthur Smith will be more creative with how he utilizes their yards after catch ability, especially potentially Jaylen Warren. Najee Harris, he really likes those power backs like Tyler Algier in terms of the goal line work and the short yardage work and just the effectiveness of the angles and the running game and the plethora of different play calls from power to duo to zones to put it all in the book because it's all going to be there. It's not going to be, I think they improved their running game last year at Pittsburgh, but to me, it's just been very simple, their offense the last few years. And honestly, too kind of horizontal in certain seasons, especially the end of Ben Roethlisberger. Too many weird reverse plays, no rhyme or reason in the play calling. That's the difference between very good play callers and just not good play callers is okay, we run this play early. How do we sequence this? How do we set this up later in the game to make this that much better? That's the Kyle Shanahan art of this play calling. And I think Arthur Smith does have that to a certain degree, but he is excellent in the running game and he's excellent using running backs. And then you look at, quarterbacks, right? So last season, this team won 10 games, right? What was it? They won 10 games? 9 games? I can't even remember. But they made the playoffs. That's the main point. And they had 13 passing touchdowns. They had 13 passing touchdowns last year. And they made the playoffs. First of all, credit Mike Tomlin for that absolute magicianship. But 13 passing touchdowns was not even a good stat in 1969. That is gross. That is gross football. That is gross stats. Okay, that's ridiculous. I don't even know how Mike Tomlin pulled that off. But 13 touchdowns, man. 13 touchdowns from the quarterbacks. So last year, with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph, the team was 10-5 with Pickett and Rudolph. 10-5 with Pickett and Rudolph. These guys are not even top 40 quarterbacks in the league, right? You got 170 yards per game passing, which is atrocious. 9 passing touchdowns in 15 games. Those 15 games that they went 10-5, they had 9 passing touchdowns, guys. So this is what you're asking Russell Wilson to be better than in 2024. I think that is manageable expectations. This is my point. Okay, Russell Wilson, people think he stinks now. Russell Wilson is way better than these guys. Way better. Okay, let's just go through the stats, right? Russell Wilson last season, 29 touchdowns total to only 8 interceptions total. That's an excellent touchdown to interception ratio. Now, his ratio, I think, is better than his actual play. The one thing that Russ is great at and always has been is protecting the ball. And the other thing he's always been good at is efficiency in terms of touchdown passes. He's a big play-oriented quarterback. So you're going to have a lot of touchdowns, and you're probably going to have a guy that's athletic enough to scramble around, avoid the mistakes. This is where Russ has always been a very good quarterback. As a rookie, at his peak of 2015 through 2019, or even now, he's still a guy that avoids mistakes, avoids turnovers, and keeps his team in good down and distance for the most part, and also helps his defense perform at a high level, which is why Russell Wilson, in my opinion, especially for the contract that they got him for, was an excellent pickup for the Steelers because he meshes with Mike Tomlin. He meshes with the identity of the team, not only from just a pure improvement of skill and ability at quarterback. He's a more effective runner. He's a better thrower of the football. He's got more experience. He's got more big game ability. He can win in the fourth quarter, in the 2-minute situations. These other quarterbacks could not. But he fits the type of offense that Arthur Smith most likely will calculate, which is a run game oriented, play action heavy offense. This is what Russ is. This is what Russ has always been effective with and always does. And then on top of that, he can add a little bit of flair and magic to even the simplistic concepts of the offense because he likes to play backyard football. He is not a quarterback like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning that sit back there, they calculate everything, they know where the protection is, they know where the blitzers are coming from, they get it out hot for 7 yards to Julian Edelman, right? Like 8 yards to Michael Thomas. No, this is like Russell Wilson is going to run for 10 yards occasionally. He's probably going to have like a stat line where he protects the ball. It's not going to look pretty, but he makes a few really big throws down the field. He scrambles a couple times on third down. He might take a sack to avoid a bad decision. He does that. But you look at the stats. Again, going back to this, I kind of went off track there, but 18th in PFF grade, top 20 quarterback in the league last year, 20th in turnover-worthy play percentage. So, that's not fantastic, but that's not bad either. 9th in big-time throw percentage, 18th in EPA per play, 20th in success rate, 25th in intended air yards per attempt. His record was 7-8 as a starter with the Broncos. 3,070 yards, 341 rushing yards, 6.9 yards per attempt, and a 98 passer rating. So overall, all those numbers, if I were to compare those all to Kenny Pickett, or compare those all to Mason Rudolph even, who had a nice season for the Steelers at the end, those are all much better quarterback play, much better player than what they had last year. And again, I can't underline this enough. He fits the Steelers' identity. I wish he had better weapons to throw to in Pittsburgh. I do believe George Pickens is going to have a massive breakout season with the Steelers this year because this is the type of receiver that Russell Wilson will like. He's a big, athletic target. Think DK Metcalf or Cortland Sutton from last year, right? Like Russ likes throwing the ball up to guys in one-on-one scenarios. He's going to trust his receivers to make plays. And Pickens is great in that area of his game. You may question his separation skills or his route running chops or maybe even his personality, but his ability to catch the ball one-on-one up in the air, he is an aerial assault artist, right? So now the complementary receivers, we'll find out who that will be. Roman Wilson, maybe the rookie out of Michigan. Pittsburgh has a great track record drafting receivers. Maybe that will work out as the slot target. Van Jefferson is a veteran who's kind of like a fringe 3 or 4 throughout his career. Calvin Austin's got some speed, quickness, and yak ability that I think Arthur Smith could use quite well. Quez Watkins and Scotty Miller are more vertical speed threats that could stretch the defense. I understand their role, but it will probably be limited. Tight ends is where I'm kind of intrigued because you're probably going to see multi-tight end usage in the Steelers offense. You're going to see a lot of Freiermuth, of course, who's going to be, I think, the second highest reception total on this team outside of George Pickens or, maybe Jaylen Warren. But I do think that Freiermuth is going to catch like 60, 70 passes in this offense. Russ is good with tight ends, and he likes to check those right over the middle of the field. He's also good after the catch, where I think Arthur Smith could utilize him pretty well. He's not a bad blocker. Pruitt has been added as an all-around, do-it-all tight end who's a gritty blocker. Darnell Washington is a monster behemoth extra tackle as their third tight end. And Connor Hayward is kind of like a hybrid fullback tight end who they can utilize as well. So there's a lot. I could see a lot of 12 personnel, meaning a lot of 2 receiver, 2 tight end formations in this one. Or even, multi-running back formations with multi-tight end formations. So I'm really intrigued by the formation usage and the personnel usage, but I think it's all there for them. And the last reason I really believe in this Steelers team this year, I think are a much better Steeler team, is the offensive line. They're young, they're fresh, they're improved, they're big, they're athletic, they're angry, right? Broderick Jones, Troy Fontenot at tackle, that's going to be pretty fun. Now, you do question Troy in year number 1 as a rookie. Tackle is really difficult to play, but he's super athletic. He's got rare movement skills. His feet are magical. So I'm really interested by that. Broderick Jones is looking to maybe move from the right to the left, I believe, this year. That's going to be a big jump for him. But I think that the offensive line in terms of individuals are all going to improve because that's what Arthur Smith does. Like, you look at how the Titans offensive line played and then how it played after he left. You look at how the Falcons offensive line played, right, while Arthur Smith was there. They all played excellent. So I just believe, especially with this interior offensive line they have one of the best interior guard duos in football with James Daniels and Isaac Seumalo. Seumalo was the 12th best guard in football according to PFF last year. James Daniels 33rd, but Daniels has had a top 25 ranking 4 times in his career. So it's one of the best guard duos in the league. That's going to protect the interior of the pocket for Russ to buy some time, and that's going to be able to get that run game started. And that's where I think they really were able to get that run game last year. And Zach Frazier, he's a really interesting former wrestler, right? Rookie, high draft pick, was maybe even a first-round pick for some people. Compact, powerful. I think he's really going to fit Arthur Smith's offense as well really well. And so I think this is the best offensive line. You even include Dan Moore, who played over 1,000 snaps for the Steelers last year as a third swing tackle. You've got pretty good depth there. I think the Steelers have the best offensive line they've had in years as well, which underlines my point and kind of comes full circle. This team is deep on the line of scrimmage. This team is better on the line of scrimmage. This team is improved at play caller, improved at quarterback. I think they've got budding stars potentially at wide receiver and also running back and the duo of running backs. I think that they've got a lot to look forward to on defense at every level. So I think this Steelers team is the sleeper team in the NFL that is actually possibly a contender. If they reach their ceiling, they're still young in some areas. They're still uncertain in some areas. I wish they had a better nickel back. I wish they had a better CB2. I wish they had a wide receiver 2 that I knew was going to be great. But man, if Russ can play well this year to the level that he has been accustomed to, and they can manage him well, and they can run the ball the way they're expected, and Pickens has that breakout, and the defense is top 10, top 5. This is a 10, 11, maybe even 12-win team if everything goes well. Of course, they're competing in the AFC North, but this is a dangerous team given Mike Tomlin is coaching it, and they're going to improve throughout the year. So, yeah, this is a Steeler team that I actually believe in this year, which is weird to say. But you guys let me know in the comments. Gronk, spike the like button. It's Mitch. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.